First off, everyone needs to listen to your podcast. I think you guys are probably my most favorite industry podcast out there because you guys really teach actors how to actually be entrepreneurs, how to actually market themselves. So I also do feel like every actor should think of themselves as a business person.
Hello, girlies. Joshua here, and just Joshua. Well, not really. We do have a guest, but I mean, sans Mike. I know we're all disappointed. Um, but I had such a blast talking with today's guest, George Brescia, who is a television personality and a style expert and an author. And actually, I will tell you a little bit about him. So, George Brescia is the author of Change Your Clothes, Change Your Life Because You Can't Go Naked, and a familiar face from NBC's Today Show Extra and The Sherry Shepherd Show. George is a red carpet regular and Playbill's best dressed columnist, covering everything from the Tony Awards to Broadway's biggest events. With over 25 years working alongside icons like Ralph Lauren, Donna Karan, and Tommy Hilfiger, George has become a transformative figure in fashion, helping everyone from A-list celebrities to everyday people discover confidence and self-expression through style. His award-winning web series Dress Up, brand ambassador work, and nationwide appearances have made him a beloved voice in the industry. George's philosophy is simple. Fashion isn't just about what you wear, it's about how you feel. And I loved the convo with him. To be honest, it was my first time actually meeting George. We emailed years ago about working together on an opening, and it just didn't work out. But I've always been aware of who he was because he's got such a great personality and he's so much fun. And I had a blast preparing for the interview, and even better time actually speaking with him. And it was, as I say to him at the end, it was really self-reflective for me, just on the importance of clothes and style and how it's easy to forget and forego. So I think you're going to really enjoy it. So do enjoy. George, we've obviously never met in person. We undoubtedly have many crossovers. And like I said to you, we nearly worked together 6 or so years ago, and it was my fault because I got back to you too late as to why we didn't. But while we're going to talk a lot about styling, of course, I'm always fascinated by the beginning. And from what research I did, I believe that your career in New York started in the theater, acting, directing, stage managing even, and then later took you to fashion. But give us some context. Where did everything begin for you? How did you get into and eventually get into styling?
Well, no. My career, I mean, I started as as a kid. I mean, I was a singer and I was an actor and a dancer, studying and all of that. And but I went straight into fashion,
Straight into it.
yeah, from college because I had wanted to work for Ralph Lauren, and so they opened a Ralph Lauren store in my hometown in West Hartford, Connecticut, and I was obsessed. And I started my career there, and then I moved to New York, and I was out in Long Island at a polo store in the Miracle Mile in Manhasset, and then I moved into the Mansion, Ralph Lauren's flagship store on 72nd Street, and I worked there as a young 24-year-old, hair down to my shoulders, wearing chalk stripe suits, and amazing, and I loved it. And I had a whole stint at Ralph Lauren for like 12 years, and I was in charge of, by the time I left, all the polo stores across the country. I was the liaison between women's design and the stores, and I did all the special events and all the in-house video, and teaching them about the clothes and the line. And I was kind of like really a huge part of that company. And that's where I learned everything I know. That was the foundation of my career in fashion. And then I left Ralph Lauren. I went to the other side of the business. I was a vice president at Tommy Hilfiger for another 10 years or so, doing the showrooms for women's product and women's licensed product. And that was great. And I worked directly with Tommy, and, it was wonderful. So I really had a strong, and then I left and I started freelancing, and I worked for Donna Karan, and I worked for Jay-Z and Beyonce, and I worked and, doing things at Lord and Taylor's and Bloomingdale's and Bergdorf's special projects, and, then started to develop, my own personal clients. But I was, when I left the corporate world and I was freelancing, I that's when I revisited my singing and my acting and my dancing. Sort of like every gay man does. But I have to say I
It's in
had a
our
lot of
DNA.
traction. Yeah, I mean, listen, I had a lot of traction at that point because, I had done a lot of things when I was younger in college and in high school, and I studied at the Hart School of Music, I singing, and I studied um in New York with various teachers because I had all these Broadway clients that I was dressing. So while I was freelancing and doing fashion, I was revisiting my whole artistic life, and I really I met Victoria Clark. She was a friend of mine, and she was my voice teacher. And I was singing for her one day, and in a lesson, and there was a book of Italian art songs. And she said, "Do you know anything in here?" I said, "Yeah, I know anything. Pick one." And so she did, and I started to sing. And I looked up at her, and she was like sobbing. And I said, "What is going
Wow.
on?" And she said, "I just don't understand what happened to you. I mean, how does someone look like you, sing like you? You could have a career tomorrow. Like what?" And I said, "Well, I've been working in fashion, which I also love." And she was like, "Oh my God." And then she's like, then she asked me, she's like, "I'm working on this project, and I would love your help in terms of my look and dressing, and it's this show, and and they're thinking about having me in it, and we would go out of town to Seattle, light in the piazza." And so I said, "Sure, let's figure it out." And so we started working together. And she was, I had had other clients that I was styling, private clients, but she was my first Broadway person. And we developed a relationship. We've been friends ever since. I mean, every time see her, on the carpet, it's probably something that I've put her in. And I've had all kinds of people that I've dressed. And so what I decided to do while I was singing and taking classes and going on auditions, and I had Broadway callbacks. I mean, it was ridiculous and it was hilarious and it was so fun. And I sang in Central Park for 10,000 people. I did Broadway Bears twice. I mean, because I had the skills, but I also knew these people, and I was studying with Michael Howard, professionally, and he had all these major, stars in his class. It was crazy. Um, but I put the acting and the performing together with the fashion, and I came up with this career that I've had, of being on television, being the style guy, doing style segments, being on the red carpet. And I had my own web series for a while
Yes,
that was
dress up.
on Stage 17, where I was dressing Broadway stars for their openings. And it was called Dress Up with George. And, we won at the Vancouver Web Fest. I mean, so that was kind of like a big deal. I was doing the Best Dress for Playbill for a while. I did the Tony Awards several times with New York One on the red carpet. So a lot of, because I live in New York, or I did live in New York because I moved, now I'm in Pennsylvania because of QVC. It's a lot of information, everybody. So I hope you're on the roller coaster here. But because I was living in New York and dressing all these Broadway people, and I had been a performer of sorts, it really sort of informed my career in terms of writing a book and dressing people for their auditions and dressing them for red carpets and being on the red carpets, interviewing people, doing, my web series, having the best dressed column in Playbill, did some things for magazines, special projects, and being a fashion editor at a couple different magazines. So I really kind of put this whole thing together, and that's really what I've been doing, being a style expert, but on television and on, different shows and covering all of these award shows, and especially, being a big part of the Tony Awards. And I just love it. And I would say, and I have a book, Change Your Clothes, Change Your Life, because you can't go naked, published by Simon and Schuster. And the inspiration from that really came from working with Broadway stars, dressing them for their auditions, dressing them for, red carpets, because what I realized is that when these people went into a audition, they walk into the room, and basically what you look like, it's done. It's pretty much done. You can sing your face off. You can act your face off, in a monologue that you've prepared or a scene that you're doing. if you don't walk in that room and you are not the essence of what that role is that you're, going out for. I'm not talking about going into a room and dressing in costume at all, but I'm just saying, like, if you are going in for, an ingenue, and you are wearing ripped jeans with a tank top and, like big platform shoes and, hair kind of down and just kind of all messy, and you start to sing My White Knight, I mean, these people, it's like you would think they would have an imagination, but it's like a stretch for them. So I'm not saying that you have to walk in a lace dress or anything, but at least walk in something that's feminine and has something to do with the role that you're looking for, and something to maybe to do with the song. Again, not a costume, but just something that speaks to it. So I discovered that people in life do the same thing. They look at you. What are you wearing? Okay, he must be this. She must be that. They must do this. They must do that. So I want people to win at that game. And that's how I dress people, for anything, whether you're in show business or not in show business. So I know that's a lot of information,
Well,
but
let me just say this: the thing about the walking in the room, yes, in terms of the essence of the part, but I'd also say in terms of confidence. So let's say you were going in for something, and they're like, "Oh, you could be 5 parts. We just want to, we wanted to meet you." To your point about walking in the room and feeling like either the truest essence of yourself or whatever is going to be, if you walk in without that sense of confidence, without that sense of essence, obviously it could play against you. Also, my partner's from Farmington, so I've spent
Farmington, Connecticut?
many time in West Hartford, many
Oh my God, that's
times.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's like the next town over.
Oh my gosh! Well, we went to. There's a great Italian restaurant in West Hartford. We've been to many times.
Oh, Brico's?
Yes, that's it. That's
I
it.
know, of course. I love that area. No, I mean, listen, I think that, like, it's funny. I've worked with a lot of students that are studying musical theater and acting. I did a lot down at Pace for a while with the staff down there. And it's funny. And we talked about that, yes, because sometimes you're just going in for a general. And so what do you do there? And it's like you have to present yourself in a way that is you, and what do you do best, and what do you want them to see, and what do you want them to think, and the clothes that you wear really matter. So I was doing this masterclass at Pace. Oh my God! Wow. With Bob Klein. Do you know Bob Klein, the
I
casting director?
do. Bob directed me in Showboat when I was 17 years old, George.
I
Isn't that
love him.
funny?
I
Yeah.
love him. He brought me in a lot. And so he brought me into the seniors, and they were graduating, and it was like almost like they were doing like a showcase. And so they were all just doing like their best work, and they were all in what they thought that the best way to present themselves was. And in terms of their clothing and their hair, and guys and girls. And I was like, what is going on? These people are like singing these songs. These girls are all in like cocktail dresses and like heels, and like literally like they're going to some like, graduation party or cocktail party. These boys are like in suits or like, collared shirts and like dress pants. I said, okay, no, 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 no. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but it's not this. I said, everybody put on their normal clothes and let me see what's going on there. I was like, okay, there you are. Hi, that's what we're talking about. So I said, you want to like take that and maybe step it up just a little bit, as if you were going on a date for the first time or something, or, just so that, but don't put on this cocktail dress that was like your mother's, and like, and all of this makeup. Like, who are you? Like, and really showing your essence, because that's what these casting directors want to see. They want to see you, and you being you, and you singing something that is, an extension of who you are, and your heart, and your, your soul, and the clothes and the whole look needs to complement that. And a lot of people, I think, it becomes like a disconnect.
100%. And I want to talk more about getting into the mindset of building a style, but I actually want to go back. Because you said, so when you started in fashion at Ralph Lauren, were you always drawn to it, or was there a defining moment, when you were like, wow, I'm interested in that world?
You know what? I have always loved clothes. I've always been into using clothing to make me feel a certain way. Um, and I really always had the connection of what clothes could do for anybody. My mom had a clothing store growing up, a women's clothing store. She was kind of always into it. I learned a lot from her. But I was into it. I don't know why. I was always drawn to it. And, I think it's a part of the entertainment business, the whole glamour part of it. So I was always into that. And using clothing to express myself. And it also definitely became my love language for others that I care about,
Mm.
oh, you should wear this, or you should look like that, or you should, because I love you and I want you to look and feel amazing. And so, whether you're my friend or my brother or my sister or my mother or, my Aunt Janet or whoever you are. So, so I would say it was always a very strong part of me.
Well, and if your mom's store was still around, which it might be, but if it would you have approved of whatever she was selling, or would you have done an overhaul?
Oh no, my mother has the best taste of anyone I've ever known.
Yes.
And she she no longer has the store, but I also have a very young mother. My mother had me when she was 16 years old. So my mom is extremely young and extremely beautiful, both inside and out, and just is very creative. And my mother also has a knack for connecting with people on a very visceral level
Yeah.
and kind of intrinsically understanding what they needed to feel good about themselves. And I definitely picked up that skill from her.
So going back to that voice lesson with Vicky Clark,
Uh-huh.
for a second, and she really is remarkable. I mean, I remember seeing Piazza and previews and seeing later on, and anyway, huge fan. But anyway, when she had that moment with you, when she's crying watching you sing, and you're already in the middle of straddling all these worlds, I think what I hear you saying, George, is that your creativity and energy and personality and talents were finding themselves naturally being utilized in other ways. And so even though you were in the midst of being considered for Broadway shows or whatever it is, that was, you were still being fueled and fed by this whole other side of yourself, and you were finding the crossover. Does that feel true, or is there something that you felt might be missing after all these years still?
Um, it is true. They're both very strong parts of who I am, and I love to sing, and I love to dance. I don't do as much dancing anymore. Obviously, I'm older, but I still sing, and I love it. I love expressing myself that way. Um, and the fashion became, a huge part of me as well, like you said, but it also, in terms of monetizing, um, it really went there. And I think by the time I went back to singing after I had left the corporate world, I mean, I could tell you so many stories, but we don't, I won't. But it's interesting because I had some major auditions with like major people, just ironically, and final callbacks for some Broadway shows, and I auditioned for Joe Montello, and I went in for him 5 times. Like, it was hilarious. And it was the same with everybody. Like, they would say to me, "Who are you? Like, why do you sing like that? Why do you look like that? Why is there nothing on this resume? I don't understand. Like, what is going on?" And I didn't understand it because I was so green at the time. Like, I didn't realize like what they were kind of talking about. But I came to understand it was like, oh, and a couple people said to me, like, you know, you should be working, and people were kind of, you keep going because someone's going to hire you. Obviously in a Broadway show, they're like, is this guy going to be able to do 8 shows a week? Like, he's never done anything that's substantial. So, people were concerned, and that's when I started to get frustrated. And even though I had a lot of really successful, because some people never even get to that point. They never even get to a final Broadway callback. And I thought, this is amazing. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to put it all together. And I have to say, I love really what I'm doing now. I really do. I mean, sometimes I'm on air, I was on QVC for 5 years just recently, and I just switched over to Home Shopping Network, and I represent Christy Brinkley's clothing line on the Home Shopping Network. But sometimes I'm on air and I'll start singing. and people
Instinctually?
people get hysterical. Like they're like, what is coming out of your mouth? And I'll just be like, because I get like inspired, you know what I mean? Like, the model will walk out and I'll be like, oh my God, look at her. She looks absolutely fabulous. She looks lovely, absolutely lovely. And people are like, wait, what happened?
And listen, that's obviously part of like what has made you and your career. People might love that about you, George. I'll also say, just to say, like, look at what Isaac Mizrahi has done. Look at what Countess Luann has done. I mean, they really are.
Those
like
are great examples.
On...
I know. Isaac is on that stage at the Carlisle, just slinging it 18 ways to Sunday. And, I mean, it's funny. I did an interview and they said to me, how do you talk on QVC? I was doing QVC at the time. How do you go on QVC and talk? Sometimes I watch these people, they're on for hours. Like, where do you come up with it? There's no prompter. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I do. Item A, 657549. Now this is $12.99, so you're getting it for under $13. Now, ladies, I'm nervous because we're very busy, so let's talk about the colors. Now, this first color of this dress is this gorgeous sea breeze blue. When you've had like a really tough day and you just feel like you got beaten up and you just need a beautiful, warm hug? That's what this dress feels like. You're going to put it on in this sea mist blue and you're going to look gorgeous. And the person said to me, she was an actress, and she goes, oh my God, that's my monologue. Like, I love it. Like, that's hilarious.
Yes.
But I have to say, all of the training of the acting and all of the training of singing and all of that, really informed my television and makes me better on camera. I mean, I love live TV. I mean, obviously I've done a lot of taped things too. And, but I mean, I much prefer live television. And I'm never nervous and I'm never scared because it's just such an extension of me. And this person that's talking to you right now is the same person that you see on camera.
And you know what? That's the moment of 2025, that authenticity, just to say. I imagine why people still gravitate towards you so much is that true sense of authenticity. Okay, so then let's talk about that, maybe that sense of authenticity or your own philosophy when it comes to personal style. Do you feel like you have a philosophy when it comes to personal style?
I do. I think that, personal style, first of all, it definitely takes, some focus. And I think what happens is a lot of people, especially women, men too, go, 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 go. Oh, I don't want to think about it. I don't know how to do it. I don't have to think about it. I don't know. Does it really matter? I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. And this is what I talk about in my book. That, you have to take the time because you do it when the stakes are high. Like if you're going out on a hot date, you are showering, you're doing your face. If you're a guy, you're shaving, you're like thinking about what you're wearing. What is my body going to look like? Is this a good color on me? Are they going to think I'm cute? So why can't you do that every day? Like, why does it have to just be for that date? Because here's the thing. You're not invisible. You're not Harry Potter wearing the invisible cloak. We see you. I tell this story. I tell this story on QVC. I'm like, ladies, You know that grocery store scene, you're like at home, you're making something, you're missing a couple ingredients, you just run to the grocery store and then you bump into the boss's wife, you're mortified, you put your sunglasses on, you run the other way hoping she didn't see you because you think like, oh my God, I look horrible. And it's like, or you think, oh, no one is going to see me just because I'm just running and getting some milk that I needed. No, no, no. We see you. You're not invisible. So put on the cute jeans, put on the cute sweater, put on the cute t-shirt, put on the cute sweatshirt. It doesn't have to be fancy, but in the right color, in the right silhouette. Once you pay attention to that stuff, and that's why you see these celebrities, especially in LA, because it's so much of the DNA of the film and television business. Those girls and boys get it, man. And they're wearing the cute jeans with the cute butt and the t-shirt that hits them right at the perfect part of the arm. So the bicep shows like they, or she's got the best neckline you've ever seen. And it's just like a t-shirt. They know how to do it because they know that when they're going to get their Starbucks, they could be bumping into a casting director and they better look cute, even though they're casual. So that whole philosophy, that's a sense of style, that's paying attention. It really is just that moment where you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, what am I saying today with this? Like, what's happening? And because your clothes speak. I call it the secret language of clothing. Your clothes are talking. So whether you want them to or not. So you better make sure that they are saying what you want them to say. If that shirt makes you look fat, don't wear it.
Period.
If the color washes you out, that's not your color.
Yeah.
Because we all have the pieces in our wardrobe, right? That when you put it on, it could be like a t-shirt that you got at Target. But every time you wear it, someone says,
Yes.
"Oh my God, Joshua, you look so cute today. That's such a
Yes.
great little color on you. Oh, have you been working out? Like, you look great." And you're like, oh my God. Like, and see, now my reaction to that would be like, I'm getting this in 8 more colors. Like,
Yes, exactly.
I'm never wearing anything else ever again.
Back
Like,
to Target. Yeah.
So I feel like that's my philosophy on personal style.
So then how do you define great style? Meaning, is it about trends or is it about something deeper?
Oh my God. It is so not about the trends. I could give a shit about the trends. I talk about them. Here's the thing. I will go on television and I'll be like, okay, here's the hottest trends for summer. Here's what's happening. But I'm always like, you find the one that looks great on you. Because if the skirts are short and it's mini skirts and you don't have great legs, don't wear them. If the guys, if it's like like it's all about the slim fit and the skinny chinos or whatever, and you feel like that doesn't make your body look good, don't wear it. You have to find what looks great on you. So my whole philosophy is this: the compliment that you want to hear and all your clothes should be, wow, Joshua, you look so good in that jacket. It really looks great on you. Versus, I love that jacket. Where'd you get it? Who cares? Who cares? That's a very different compliment. That means they love the jacket. They're not looking at it on you. If they say,
Interesting.
wow, Joshua, that jacket looks really good on you. Really, really good. That means it fits you well. It's in a great color. It's flattering on you and you look great in it. And that's how I dress people. And that's how people should dress.
Well, so subsequently, you have obviously, you've worked with people of all kinds of shapes, sizes, backgrounds. How do you bring out the best? Like, and the reason why I'm asking you this, George, because I know you think about this process-wise. So how do you bring out the best in someone's look while also honoring their authentic self? If I may, as an example, it sounds like you're quite honest in a helpful way. What are you confident about? What are you not confident about? If you're not confident about that, let's not show that off. But speak to that, George.
So what I do is I go through your closet and I call it ground zero. What's happening? Like, what do you have in this closet? Showing me what you think looks good on you and the kind of things that you're attracted to. And then I just dial that into the right colors, the right silhouettes. So you know, if you're kind of like a casual guy who, you know, works out all the time and he likes his t-shirts and his, you know, jeans or his cotton, you know, khakis or whatever and sneaks and maybe a jean jacket sometime. Okay, well, let's get one that fits you because 9 out of 10 times you're wearing clothes that are like 8 sizes too big for you, you know, because that's what men do. And, you know, if you're a woman and it's like, you know, you love all these bright colors, but you like a blonde with like blue eyes and you have like no light blue or any blue in your wardrobe. I'm like, hello, pop the eyes. Like, what's happening? So it's like, I just dial it 2 degrees to the left or 2 degrees to the right. So it's you, but it's the best you in the, you know, and also I find out about your lifestyle. Like, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? Like, I'm making sure that you have clothes that work like that. You know, it's funny. This woman just hired me. I never met her. I think she's an acupuncturist and you know she just really, you know, she has her own business and now she's doing tours and taking people all over the world and she's like, I want to look like the person who's leading these tours and I know that I don't. I look like this bohemian hippie that escaped from like, you know, some like music festival or something. And I was like, but I knew that I couldn't take her from that into like structured clothing that looks like, you know, Greenwich, Connecticut. So I just kind of dialed her and see, you know, flowy dresses, cute kind of tops, jeans, but just in the best colors, the best silhouettes, really flattering her body. I just got off the phone with her. She's like, "Oh my God, I've never gotten so many compliments in my life. Like people are just," and it's not like we even spend a lot of money. It's just like when you wear clothes that look great on you, that it changes everything. And because there's so much choice in casual wear, people get overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. And so I help you with that and help you once you know your color palette, you know about your body and what looks good on your body, what silhouettes, what necklines, what kind of fits. Um, and then we sort of talk about like what the kind of look is, you know, and just really kind of create it. And to me it's just, you know, kind of 1, 2, 3.
Well, you know, I will say when I've worked with stylists, number one, per your point, it's always for like, you know, the big quote unquote events. But, you know, artists and doesn't matter, politicians, public figures, or it's a whole other ball of wax. And one thought I've had, George, I'm just curious about your opinion on this. I I do like clothes, but I do not like getting up every day and picking out what and we've got so much fucking clothes. We really do. I've often thought I want to work with someone and I want to create one look. And it could be, and then I want variations of it. I want a short sleeve version, a long sleeve version, but I want it to be basically the same thing. Call me Steve Jobs, I don't care. Because then but I want it to tell a story that I'm excited to tell and that I feel good in. I'm just curious, what's your opinion on that? If it was literally the same thing, but a curated look.
I think you would feel differently if you understood like here's like the color palette that you look really good in.
Mm,
Here is like the best t-shirt that really flatters your shape.
mm-hmm.
Here's like a really good fitting jean that this brand looks really good on you. Or these brands look good on you. And then like sort of like and then making sure, okay, and you have like a great suit, like when you need a suit, like setting you up so that you have like all the tools that you need and that you could mix and match and showing you how to do that. And then you would wear like variations of your look. But I don't think that it doesn't sound like you've worked with anybody that's been able to dial into that.
Well, and because I think to what we were saying, a lot of it's been like, oh, for this one big event or this opening, and then so I love the look, but it's like I can't wear that I can wear that once, you know what I mean? So, but actually, you're bringing me up to another question then. So obviously, you're going to have clients who have, I would argue, bad instincts. People who might might even feel quite confident in their bad instincts and say to you, I don't want to do that. How do you balance guiding a client who might be, you know, are so off the beaten path but you also have to play the game of getting them back on, like the woman you were just talking about, who might not be ready for a complete 180.
So when people come to me, you know what? They're usually ready for what I have to offer them. So, and the other thing is when I put, because again, you know, sometimes I watch people in the clothing stores, like, and I watch them dress people, and I'm always like, oh my God, this guy's just making a sale. Like, he doesn't even realize that, like, those aren't even his colors. It's a cute outfit, but not on him or her. Like, they don't even get it. But when I put somebody in something, it's always something that looks great on that person. So I never say anything. I let them look in the mirror. I don't say a word. And then they look in the mirror and they're like, wow. Oh, wow, this looks good. Okay. Does it come in other colors? And I'm like, uh-huh. And then so I don't have to say anything. And then they look at me and they're like, they see it. Like, you can see it. Um, when and I don't, sometimes I will put somebody in something and they're like, I love this. I can see that it looks great on me. I won't wear it. And then I'll say, okay, why not? Because I just don't want to look like this. I feel like I look like, an uptown, Upper East Side stuffy girl, and I don't want to look like that. I want to look like edgier and sexier. And it's like, okay, we can do that. And then I do that. When I will push someone is when they look in the mirror and they say, oh my God, this looks I don't know, this looks really good, but I don't know. I'm afraid. That's when I push them. I'm like, okay, you got it. We're not going to be scared. You just have to do it. You look so great. You see it. They're like, I do see it, but I just don't know if I'm going to have the nerve. I'm like, no, we're going to do it. And then they do it. And then they call me and they're like, oh my God, I've never gotten so many compliments in my life. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So here's the thing, it's not that because people sometimes, we do like a question and answer portion of all my public appearances. And it's my favorite part. And I love it when these women, they get all like, oh, I'm going to get him now. And, and they come up and they ask me this question, they raise their hand, and there's always one that does it. It always happens. And I laugh every time because I know what to say. You know what? I want to ask you a question. I don't care what other people think. And why am I dressing for what everyone else thinks? I dress the way I want to dress, and I dress for me, and it's about me. And so why do I have to dress for what everyone else says? And I said, and I always say, I love this question. I love it. I say, and I'll look at her and I'll say, did you think you were going to stump me with that one? Did you think that was going to like knock me off my chair? Not so much. I'll say, do you think I care what other people think of you? I don't care what other people think. It's how you present yourself and how you connect to it. And then when you get the response that people treat you differently, and you see that people have different reactions to what you have on and the way you're presenting yourself, that makes you feel differently. And she's like, oh, I said, so it's about you connecting with you. And then when you do that, because most people that say that, they're not, because I work with them and they're like, no, I don't know what to do, or this doesn't look good, or, this isn't working. And I know that, but I don't know what to do. They're frustrated. You know what I mean? And so once I teach them, it's almost like unlocking a door. So they go, oh, so these are my colors. These are better necklines. This makes my body look good. I see it. And then they can run with it too. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes you listen. Here's what makes so much sense. I'm going back to my childhood for a second because it's going to bring it back to what you just said. My mother was also really young. She was 18 when she had me. We grew up in Los Angeles, and she was new age, but she was really cool. She was gorgeous, and so and very much just a sceney girl. And I say this because I grew up and I was a bit even conservative as a kid. I wanted to wear button up, and at the time, saggy jeans were the thing. Anyway, she would buy me clothes, and still to this day, they're things I would never buy for myself, but I always loved them the most. And even with my partner, I'll buy clothes for him that he'll never wear. And we're nobodies, meaning my mother and I aren't stylists. but there's always something also in other people seeing something in us or about us or offering us another way, another lens to even consider that we don't even give ourselves the permission to do. I'm more just speaking to that idea, George, of what you were saying of like, I let the work speak for itself. So I put someone in something they might, and just say, put it on, and then they see it, and then it opens up pathways that they hadn't even necessarily considered. But somewhere along those lines, what is unique for you about working with artists and performers versus non-performers?
Well, first of all, artists and performers, it's such an intricate part of this business, because we are what we look like. And, that's how we get jobs. And so we have to be able to adapt our look to, dial it a little bit this way, a little bit that way to whatever we're doing. And it's very, very important to get a job, keep a job. Our clothes are really our costumes, whether we're in something or not in something,
Yes.
it doesn't really matter. And so they really understand the importance of it. The other difference, I think, is that because people in show business have costumes made for them for the theater, bespoke clothing, that literally, is designed for them and fits them within an inch of their life, completely tailored to their body so that they, have a shape on stage. And the same in film and television, the right colors, the right silhouettes so that they pop on camera. That's where I get all of that. I've learned it all from. They get it and they want it. The new actress just hired me yesterday. She's just starting out in the business and she's like, I need help. I need to wear clothes for auditions. I need to wear clothes for some events that I go to. Like, I don't know what to do. And she gets it. And she's only like in her 20s because she's like, I just see these girls looking amazing and I don't know what to do. I think people that aren't in show business, I think that they understand it in a different way, because I think that most women feel less than. Even if they're sitting at their son's soccer game, they're always like, well, why does that mom look really cute in her little jeans and her little boots and her little leather jacket and her little sweater? I don't know how to do that. How does she do that? And just looking casual. And those are the cute sneakers. Well, why aren't I wearing the cute sneakers? I didn't even know what the cute sneakers were, like stuff like that. And, and men, you can't talk about men's clothing and style without talking about gay, not gay. It's a big deal because, gay men, obviously the cliche is that we know how to do it. And some men do and some men don't that are gay, but mostly a lot of them have a sense of style. You don't have that thing. But straight guys, and there are some straight guys that know how to do it and some that don't too. I guess it's really the same, but it's really with men, it's like it matters to them, but they're not sometimes as vocal about it until they come to me. And then they're like, I feel like I look fat in my clothes, or I feel like, I look stupid and dumpy and I don't look sexy and I don't know how to look sexy. And, if they're dating and, like I want to be able to go out on a date and look sexy, but not look like I'm a used car salesman. Like, what do I do? And so I help them, and men approach it differently. Like if a guy finds it, man, he wants it in every color. He wants 5 of them. Like,
exactly.
So I think that the appreciation for both people that are in the business and out of the business, it's just a different focus. And I think that people that aren't in the business, they want it, but they're not as comfortable wanting it as people that are in the business.
It makes total sense. And how much does context play a role in your process? And then let me be clear. Do you approach styling red carpets looks differently from every day versus on camera? I mean, I imagine so, but how do you approach those things differently?
I really don't. I feel like, when it's a red carpet look or a television look, or someone's being interviewed or you're in the business, I think it's the same thing. I want you to pop. I want you to be in the right color. I want you to look fabulous, and the clothes to be flattering and all of it. And in real life, it's the same thing. I think if you're in show business and you're you're doing a red carpet, or you're doing a talk show, or you're doing, you know, an audition or whatever it is, I think it's the same philosophy. It's just the stakes are different for different things. Um, but I will say that, you know, if you're doing like really anything that's going to be photographed or on camera, you have to take that into consideration, because clothes look different in person than they do on camera, than they do in a photograph, than they do in video. And so you have to sort of, that's why you see all these like Oscar dresses and people talk about them, but when you see it in person, the dress is so different than what it looked like on camera, than what it looks like in a still shot, than what it looks like when she's, you know, at the award show. Then you see it, you've seen it on the red carpet before the award show in the commentary for E! News, and then the person goes on the network CBS and you see that dress and it looks totally different because it's lit on stage now, and that changes the look of it, and you start to see all the textures and things that you didn't recognize from the red carpet. So, and then you see it in a still photograph and it looks different from that because the lighting was different. And that, you know, so it's like all of those things. And I'll tell you, and some of these people that I dress, I mean, some of them take all of that into consideration, and they want to be covered every which way but loose. And I've had celebrities where we have to take a picture, we then take a video, we then get lighting, like they want to be covered. And some of them just like, no, they look in the mirror, I look great, it'll be great on everything. I'm not going to worry about it. It just depends.
Do you have a preference of type of client you like to work with in that regard?
No, I love to work with everybody. What I don't love is when I'm working with like celebrities, and I don't live in that world. I mean, I have, and you know, I love it because I mean, it's fun, but I don't love it when, you know, there's like a whole entourage for the celebrity, and you're dealing with the manager and the agent and the PR person, and, you know, and everybody, and then everybody's chiming in because they're posturing, you know, to have their importance in this person's life. I mean, I've been through it all. And so I don't love that. I love it when I am working with the person and it's, you know, them and me, and we just want them to look fabulous and they're happy. And I've had celebrities where, you know, they'll go to something and they felt incredible and they loved the way that they looked and they loved the pictures the next day. And then their people are like, well, I don't know if that dress really was good for you or whatever. And they're always like, no, George knows what he's doing. I loved it. He loved it. We're good. Like, leave me alone. You know, and because some people, again, when you're in that world and the stakes are that high and they're super famous, and, you know, everybody, oh, thank God I was here to tell you that is not going to work for you, that dress, thank God, you know, then it's like, so they feel that they became important in the scenario. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, they're trying to prove their worth. They want to, I have got your best interests at heart, as opposed to that person.
Yeah, because
right?
because if they really did, you know, they would approach it a different way, which I've also had people do. Like, you know what, George, I don't know, I don't really love that on her. What do you think? Do we have other options? See, then you're collaborating with me. Then I
Yes.
know that you're on the team. That's a whole different thing than walking in going, oh no, that dress is horrible. We can't do it. Thank God I was here. That means it's becoming about you. When I dress people, it is not about me. It's about them.
Right.
And that's how I do it. Whether you're famous or not famous, whether you're an artist or you're not an artist, it's about you. It's all about you, you know? And so that, and when I have a rack of clothes, I don't think about what I can put someone in so that I can say, oh, I dressed them and look how fabulous they were, and that's why I picked it. It's like, I just look at that rack of clothes and I'm like, okay, which one is going to make him or her look incredible? And I go and I concentrate on that.
For
And then,
sure.
you know, and it's a very different way to do it. I had a designer call me. I was dressing someone for the Tony Awards who was a nominee, and there was like three dresses, and the client and I knew which one we wanted. And he wanted a very different dress, and it was like this big, huge ball gown bottom, and it was a pretty dress. It just wasn't good on her. And he wanted her to wear that dress. And he was like, but that's the one I want her to wear. That's going to create a moment on the carpet. Everyone's going to look and it's going to be fabulous. And I'm like, but that's not the dress that she looks the best in. So the moment is not going to be as good if we don't wear this one that she looks really good in.
Well, and that's interesting, George, because then you probably have to be a middle person between representing your client and making sure you're doing what you're doing, which is making them look best. And also, I would argue, managing the relationship with the designer and trying to make sure that they feel heard themselves. Does that feel true to you?
Totally. And I said, I just feel like she feels better in this. I think she looks better in this. And I think the moment will come because she looks so great in this dress. And guess what? She made the Vogue's best dressed, and like she wore that dress, and it was fabulous. And she ended up winning. Like it was like a whole thing. And, and there are some stylists and some designers, they're so interested in having a moment or something different. I only like different and a moment if the person looks incredible.
Period. So what are some common misconceptions that you think artists might have about image or wardrobe?
I think that artists, because they're costumed all the time, I've heard so many stories about costume designers saying, okay, well, I don't know what we're going to do about these shoulders and, and these legs. And so we got to figure this out. And, we got to get that cleavage up. Or, well, you're not really in that good of a shape, guy. So we're going to have to give you, sort of a waist here. And, and I think so when they hear stylists and they're like, oh, I don't want anyone coming near me. I don't want to feel bad. And I think that, it's like our job to find clothing that's going to make them look and feel great. And I've had so many people in the business say to me, God, George, you always start out with the positive. And I'll be like, oh, those eyes, we got to pop those gorgeous blue eyes. And oh my God, you have the best legs I've ever seen. I think we should do something short and show off those legs. And I don't do that necessarily consciously. It's just kind of like where I start and kind of the way I do it. So I think that, a misconception could definitely be that stylists and costume design, like there are good people out there. You just have to find people that you vibe with. And sometimes you don't have a choice. So I would say that communication is a very large part of it. And you have to communicate because you're wearing it.
So you're kind of getting into this big question I have. And you're speaking to like lifting up, what pops in someone. But how do you help a client move past insecurities? Because we know that those are real mental blocks for a lot of people, especially public figures.
I think when you put people in clothing that looks really, I keep coming back to that, looks really great on them and really have taken the time to know who they are and find out about them and find out about what's in their closet, what they have been wearing, what they've been through, and you don't just dress them cold, that there becomes an instant trust and all of those insecurities kind of melt away. It's very much like finding the right acting teacher or the right singing teacher or the right dance teacher or, anyone that you're collaborating with that way. When someone can build a trust with you and where you feel, it's funny, I just started working with a new agency for myself. And the agent said to me on the phone yesterday, he's like, you know what? I'm talking to you. It's like the second time we're talking together and I feel like I know you and I'm not worried about what I'm saying or I'm not feeling uncomfortable. And it's so great. And I said, well, that's really where the good work comes from, right? Because if you're worried about what you're saying or you're uncomfortable, how are we going to do good things together? I said, that's exactly how it should be. And I feel the same way about you. That's what you want when you're working with, a stylist. And that's how I work with people. I don't want there to be any weirdness and I can tell, like, I'll work with someone and I see them, they're like this, and I'm like, oh my God, you're so uncomfortable. All right, let's take a deep breath. Girl, I'm here for you. We're going to figure this out. I'm on your side. You're going to be snatched. And she starts laughing. So it's the same thing like when you go to a doctor and, they start talking to you and they talk to you in a way that, and not all of them do it, but they melt away your insecurities and your fears and your worries. It's my job. It's to connect immediately with you. And that's what I do with people. I have to connect to people that I've never met, but I can't do that unless I find a connection. And I also, interestingly, I make sure that the first item that I ever put on somebody, like in a rack full of clothes, man, woman, doesn't matter, is going to be a winner.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that, because a lot of people, they are expecting that magic wand to be flying. And you put on a couple I mean, so does it mean that I don't put things on people that aren't clunkers? Yeah, that happens, but not the first one, not the first
Well,
couple ones.
well, you know what you're talking about, and why it's a good comparison to voice teachers and acting teachers too, is building trust. So that so whether it's your personality and your willingness to, humor is a great way to break down barriers, or to acknowledge immediately, I can tell you're uncomfortable, whatever it might be, or to make sure it's you have to earn that trust, because there is something both in acting and voice and in the work that you do that's quite intimate, and it is about the essence of the person. And so how do you work through that, and obviously, you've honed your own process there. So how has your own style evolved over the years, and has that, I don't know, revealed anything to you about yourself?
um, I'm laughing just because I'm so hard on myself. Yeah, I mean, I definitely grew up, sort of preppy, as they say. I never really got into so much um, that whole edgy avant-garde kind of look. Um, so I, but I do like to look sexy sometimes if I'm feeling good about my body. And I've done that, but I'm always fairly conservative, and I think I figured out, my look. So I don't try to look like something that I'm kind of not necessarily. Meaning, there are some guys, no matter what age, that they can be really unshaven. I didn't shave today, but it's only like one day, so it's not really noticeable.
Same.
And
Mine is
so, like,
noticeable.
yes, but some guys can do, like, unshaven, kind of tousled hair, a denim shirt, and a denim jean, and just sexy, and just kind of walk around in sneakers. I mean, I can do that, but that's not when people respond to me. People respond to me when I'm groomed and I'm in a suit or a jacket, or I'm wearing like a fabulous color. Like, people respond to me when I'm sort of done. I just have that look. I have sort of a polished look, and I kind of know that about myself. So if I'm looking to create some drama in terms of the way I look, I know that it needs to be like a little bit more polished, and that's just, I'm not that rugged looking kind of guy. I don't have that face. I don't have.
I will say, I forget what it was. I think you were on TV or something, and you were wearing these, it looked like joggers, but they had they were black stripes on either side of the pant. And what I was really taken with was, it was almost kind of a surprising look. Like, it wasn't overly formal, and I was sort of like, there seemed to be like a through line of accessibility in your look, George, if I may. A clean, but like, this is someone I can also talk to. Like, there doesn't feel like any showboating. I don't know. This is just my perception of looking at you visually, that was really fun and appealing, but also sleek and professional. Does that resonate with you at all? This is my unprofessional eye looking at you.
I know, it's funny. Usually I remember everything. I don't remember. I don't know what that was. Um, yeah, I mean, like, when I'm on television, I usually want to wear something that pops. So it's really about color, mostly, a lot. Um, so, pop colors, the colors that look good on me, that'll really kind of pop on camera. Um, and then, you know, depending upon what it is, I mean, I was on TV the other day, and I wore like a white, boucle suit with like a lavender shirt underneath, and these glasses, because they're light, because I have dark frames too. I mean, and I got a lot of, people really liked it, looked good on camera. Yeah, I mean, I would say that accessible. So I'm not like I don't usually do like necessarily like ties and vests and pocket watches and too much, it depends on what I'm doing, but mostly I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm usually in a jacket and, again, looking probably a little bit more polished.
Well, here's your daytime live TV question that I'm sure you've been asked a million times, but I think it's helpful, and I'm loving this conversation. So, what are a few practical tips that everyone, no matter their profession, should know about their own sense of style that they could think about today?
So I talk about this in my book. I would say to go through your closet or your drawers and find the pieces that people respond to. Every time I wear this t-shirt, people say I look great. Every time I wear this jacket, people say I look great. Every time I wear these pants, people say that I have asked me if I've been working out or did I lose weight or tell me I look great or this looks, again, that looks great on you. And look at those pieces, pull them all out and start to see what's happening. What colors are they? What silhouette is that? Like that'll start to help you to create your style because, I must look good in blue because every time I wear this blue sweater, people love it. Oh, this dress, every time I wear this dress, this must make my body look good because people ask me if I lost weight and they tell me I look great. And you start to see what your colors are, what your silhouettes are, and it kind of helps you. And then the other thing is, you always want to, another tip is that you think about the fact that your clothes are a billboard, a walking billboard. And okay, what is this saying? What is this look saying? I'm thinking about Will and Grace and, Grace looking at Will and she'll put out 3 different, tops, does this say, hi, I want to take you away for the weekend and, and we're going to go gambling in, uh, Las Vegas? Or does this say, hi, he's like, oh, well, that looks like, you are the woman who is stealing, the husband of the principal or something like, you're a slut, so again, your clothing talks. So what does its clothing say? And make sure that that's what you want to say. And I think that's another good tip.
So for artists or creatives or anybody who's working on a limited budget, for example, what one investment piece that can elevate a wardrobe?
So funny. People always ask me that. I think that man or woman, I love jackets. I think a good blazer jacket, investing in the right color, a good silhouette, because then all those tops in your wardrobe, you're wearing that jacket with all those different shirts, all those different tops, all this, you can throw it over a dress. Like, it's just like, I feel like that's a good one. For a woman, a fabulous dress, like a great looking dress, usually in a solid so that it can be dressed up, dressed down. And then a guy taking that jacket thing and maybe like a suit, like having just a gorgeous one for the summer, one for the winter. Then you have that jacket you can wear with things, the pants you wear with things. Then you have the whole suit that you put together like a really good looking fitted. For men, it's all about fit and tailoring. Huge, because it could be so inexpensive. And if it fits you and it's tailored, it looks like really expensive. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on a suit. Go to Banana Republic, go to Club Monaco, go to Bonobos, but have it tailored within an inch of its life. Women, because you're getting into hair and makeup, but an amazing dress, an amazing blazer, a fabulous pair of heels, a great flat that you can wear with everything, an earring that goes with everything. Really just paying attention to those, core pieces.
And then to lump together, how has technology and the digital age changed the world of fashion and styling? And this isn't meant to be leading and necessarily related, but it is related. What excites you about the future of fashion and styling?
Well, obviously people are buying everything online. And on their phones. And, and there's all kinds of apps and you can watch a television show and click an app and the thing that you're seeing on the television show will tell you, you can use your scanner, and then it'll tell you all the different stores that you can see that blouse that she's wearing on that movie and where to buy it. So they're making it so easy. But I think so that's all this technology of how to buy and wear things and use different apps to, put outfits together and, yourself digitally and see what they look like. And I think it's all great. I personally, I think that, and so there's that whole technology, that whole, internet of fashion is huge, obviously, Amazon and all of it. But I do feel that people are coming back to brick and mortar. And that is my favorite, because to touch, to feel, the experience of feeling fabulous, of being in a store, having someone pay attention to you, having it be about you, and then seeing the execution. So many times people will call me and they'll say, I want to wear this with this, with this, with this. What do you think? Well, it sounds great, but I don't know. I got to see it.
Yeah, exactly. Send me a picture at least.
I don't know if the shirt's going to be too long and the jacket's going to hit you in the wrong place with that pant, or I don't know. And so I think that in person is just, or if you're doing, or you could do it virtually, but you have to do a try-on session. We have to see what's happening, in terms of, so that's what I think about that. And then in terms of like where fashion is going, fashion's like a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down, it turns, it loop-de-loops. And it's just, it's like anything. It's like, I don't know. And it's all about, we just had the Met Gala, and it was about, Black style and dandyism, which I was obsessed with. And I think it's wonderful and so cool. And because dandyism is about showing off and using clothing almost as a weapon to be able to, sort of define a look that enables you to go and be different places and do different things. And so I think the future is, more about people being curious about the importance of clothing and realizing more and more that clothing affects our moods. It affects how we feel about ourselves. It affects how we feel about others. It affects how we judge people. It affects how we are judged. It affects how people make stories about us just from what they see. And that's the whole thing. And understanding that this is not something that's arbitrary. It just happens in human nature, and we do it subconsciously or consciously. But when you're walking down the street in New York City and you're looking at all these different people passing you by, quick stories in your head. Oh, he must be a banker. Oh, that one must be a doctor. Oh, that must be an artist. Oh, that one's probably on Broadway. Oh, that one's probably an actress. Just by what you're seeing people. And by the way, you could be totally wrong. Sometimes you walk into a party and like you see someone who's dressed within an inch of their lives and they look glamorous and fabulous, and you find out they're an accountant. But look at what you thought because of what they were wearing. So, I think that we're trying to make that connection more and more about how clothing affects us and affects others, and how to sort of win at that game. And I think that's kind of where fashion's going.
Do you ever feel like the doctor at the party who's asked to examine a mole, and you're like, ugh, because like everybody in your life is like, George, would you help me? Would you help me? Would you help me? And meanwhile, you're doing it full time.
Oh, that's so funny. No, because I really love it.
Yeah.
It's so funny you said that. I went to a party the other night and people were sort of asking me about stuff. And I don't mind talking. People are like, I know you probably don't want to talk shop. No, I don't mind it at all. I don't, first of all, I would never critique somebody or critique anybody at a party or ever, I just don't do that. And honestly, I don't really do it that much in my own head, as much as you would think. I don't look at someone and go, oh God, what is that? Like, she really needs my help. I just, because I'm just doing it in my life that I don't do that. It definitely is my love language though. And for example, a friend of mine here in Fire Island, told me that she's going to the Cheetah Rivera Awards, and she's not in the business, but she had worked with Cheetah, and Cheetah's daughter is friends with her, and she's going to have her go to the awards this year. And she told me what she was wearing. I didn't ask her, but she told me. And I remembered. And so there's a store that I work with and I send clothes to clients from where I live in Pennsylvania. And I went in there and I pulled like 4 or 5 pairs of earrings for her. And I brought them back with me and I showed them to her yesterday. And she was like, "Oh my God, George." And I was like, "Well, I just figured you really needed and I love her and I just wanted her to have, and she was very taken with that. So, I'll do things like that sometimes just because, I love her and she's my friend.
Yeah.
And so it just depends.
Favorite red carpet look that you've ever styled?
Oh my God, really? Oh, that's so hard. A favorite? I don't know if I have a favorite. I know that's not what you want to hear.
No.
I mean, honestly, I love them all, or I wouldn't do it.
Fair. We love a
I just
diplomatic answer.
no, it's really not. I'm not being diplomatic. I really feel that way. I will say, and my clients will laugh. If you talk to them, I always say, "Oh my God, this is our best one ever." And they always laugh. You always say that. And I was like, yeah, but think about it. It has to be. Like the one that we're doing now has to be the best one. Otherwise, we're not evolving.
Yeah.
And I think about it like that. I mean, it's so exciting for me sometimes to see somebody in their career and on a carpet. I mean, I think that some of my favorite red carpet looks have been like for Tony Awards for people that were going for their first Tony, because it was so exciting for them just to be there and to be nominated and wanting to look a certain way and having never been on the carpet. So that's really fun for me. People always say to me, I'll answer your question like this. What is my favorite thing about what I do? Is watching someone look in the mirror and discover themselves and go, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. I love that. That's what I live for. When they look in the mirror and they're like, oh, that's that person that I want. Okay, perfect. I love that.
I'm putting you on the spot again. We end every episode with what we call comfort food performances, which is essentially a favorite performance that we can either come back to over and over again or just one that we've loved. And we ask all of our guests that, and we do it ourselves. And I'll kick us off, George, by bringing it all the way back to Victoria Clark, because, well, I remember her so distinctly in Night in the Piazza, and she was amazing. I do think her performance in Kimberly Akimbo was just amazing. And so my comfort food performance will be Victoria Clark in honor of our convo today. Is there one that stands out for you?
A performance of one of my clients?
Or not even necessarily a client. It could be Carrie Coon on the White Lotus or whatever. A favorite performance of yours as of late, or not as of late, because Kimberly Akimbo was not as of late.
Well, it's funny because we were talking about Vicky. I mean, yeah. I mean, when she sings Fable in Piazza, it's just like I could have killed myself.
Yeah.
I have to say, because Kate Baldwin is my good friend and client, and she just did Love Life.
That's right.
And she sang this, like, I can't remember the name of the song, but it was like this thrashy, like 11 o'clock number where she just like left it all on stage, and it was amazing to watch her do that. So that would definitely be one of them. And I would say, off the top of my head, those two.
I remember I saw I saw Kate Baldwin do Hello Dolly with Tova Feldscher at Paper Mill Playhouse. This is years and years and years ago. And then to see her do it again all those years later, she's ageless. George, I really can't thank you enough for this. I've loved this conversation. I mean this positively, what I'm about to say. I found myself as we were talking, a lot of self-reflection for myself going, why do I not prioritize? Because it's everything we're talking about today. It's not just about looking good for other people. It's not about,
right.
I
How
want
it makes you feel.
Exactly. And so
yeah,
I valued that. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, I think about this. I mean, if people watched me in my house, they would think I was a nut job. But like, even if I'm like, like going to watch TV, I want to put on the sweats that make me feel cute. And when I look in the
Yeah.
mirror, oh, that's the right t-shirt that makes my body look good. And I love these sweatpants and I'm in sweats. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then if I'm going to run to like grab some lunch or something, I make sure that the little windbreaker that I put on is the windbreaker that fits me really well and slim in here, like, and it's all these casual clothing, but it's like once you start to flex those muscles all the time, it just becomes an extension. Do you know how like you'll see someone on the street or in a coffee shop or something, and again, they'll just be in like some little leather jacket, t-shirt and jeans, or just some kind of casual outfit, and you're like, God, they look so cool. They look so great. Because when you start to pay attention to that stuff, even those kinds of clothes look great on you and you end up feeling and looking great. And again, it's not a red carpet look.
100%. Well, it's even, what does RuPaul say about, wearing a suit when they fly, even because people treat you differently, because
That's right.
you
That's right.
feel more confident. It makes total sense. No, that's what I'm saying. I've really valued the the self-reflection from the conversation and you being so open about just the whole process, because I think, again, for artists for who this podcast is for, no matter where you are at, especially the lady you're working with who just is starting out and trying to find her visual look, or someone like Victoria Clark or Kate Baldwin, it matters. It matters for a whole cornucopia of reasons. So, George, thank you so much. This has been great.
Oh my God. Loved it, Joshua. So much fun. Thanks for having me. Thanks for thinking of me.
Of course.